Welcome everybody. My name is Judy Jeffers. I'm a volunteer at the museum and a member of the board of directors. And it is my job to always introduce our presenter, which I think is that's one of the best jobs that you have around here, especially if you're a volunteer. And it's not snowing too bad, so I think you'll all be able to get back home again, which is good. Let me get my notes. Please turn off your cell phones. Next month, do not come here. The museum will not be open. We're going to be at the Bay City Central High School. The Bay Area, but the Bay Concert Band is going to be there, and our director, Mike Botchkalupa, will tell you a little bit more about that. What else do we have here? The next event is March 10th, and then in April we will be back here at the museum. Now today we have as our presenter Glenn Rowley. Glenn is the supervisor for the Charter Township of Bangor. He's a political newcomer. He traversed from the position he previously held as membership. Is this getting feedback? No? Okay. It just seems like it's good. Oh, I'm sorry. Sharon Pagrezinski, who's standing right here to my right. I will introduce you to Sharon Pagrezinski. She is with the Bay County the Quilters Guild, and she's going to talk to you about the quilt that they have for raffle. It's beautiful. Sharon?
Hi, thank you, Judy. I am the president currently of our local Bay Heritage Quilters Guild. We are an affiliate here at the museum, and as some of you would remember, we used to have our quilt shows in the museum in the gallery area for years and years, and they would stay up for exhibit for several weeks beyond the weekend show. Weekend show is always festive, and we get vendors in and all kinds of fun things take place. And in coordination with that, we normally make a raffle quilt. And the last probably 15-20 years we've been doing queen size raffle quilts because that seemed to be the popular mattress sizes that people were interested in. This year we are having our show at Studio 23, the Arts Center. It's very conveniently all on one level as opposed to where we've had our shows in recent years since the gallery has been occupied with this permanent exhibit. We're marking our 30th anniversary this year, so it's going to be a fun celebration. It's the first weekend right after Easter, April 6th and 7th, Friday and Saturday, with an opening reception on Thursday from 5 until 7. And then the quilts stay up until May 18th. And that's when we'll raffle off the quilt and a few other things. One of the runner-up prizes is this beautiful wall hanging that one of our members finished off for us. We all participate in making the quilt. It's hand appliqué, it's hand quilted. Full-size quilt is on that banner, and we hope you can come out and visit our exhibit or come for the fun of the show. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Sorry, I didn't mean to forget you. Sorry about that. Okay, first of all, I'd like to ask, are there any people here today who've never been here before for our program? A lot. I'm losing it. Okay, all right, good, thank you. Okay, was there a show of hands? Are there new people here who have never been here before? Wonderful, welcome. Please, we hope you come back again. We hope you enjoyed today's presentation. We have Glenn Rowley with us today. Glenn, as I started to say, he's the supervisor for the Charter Township of Bangor. He's a political newcomer. He traversed from the position he previously held as membership director for the Bay Area Chamber of Commerce. Prior to that, he spent 8 years as an insurance agent and 5 years in the insurance restoration industry. I have no idea what that would be. Glenn doesn't like to have a long bio. He gets red-faced and all verklempt when people are talking about him too much. So I will I will leave that time for him for his program. He has over 30 different activities that he is chairman, president, whatever. So I will, and if you want to ask him about them, I'm sure he'd be happy to tell you. He's most proud of his wife and his 2 children. He has a son and a daughter. He is, in his spare time, he enjoys spending time with his family, boating, bowling, golfing, completing projects around the house and being a spectator at his children's many activities. And if you saw the list of activities that he's involved in, I don't know when he has time to do much of anything. Is Mike still here?
Right behind.
That's scary. Okay. Thank you very much again for coming, and I hope to see you at basically Central High School next month. The reason we're not there is they have Michigan History Day, and all of the staff is involved in that, and nobody's going to be here, so they will all be at the high school, so we hope that you come. There'll be no cookies or coffee or punch. I apologize for that, but they won't allow us to take first thing in there, so you'll have to save your appetites for April. Good to have you all here again. Thank you very much.
Glenn Rowley, everybody.
I've heard my voice tends to be a little bit loud. Is there a need for a microphone? Because nobody likes to be talked at. I like to be able to walk around and we can, talk together. Mention some of the different organizations that I belong to, and the list is pretty extensive. One of the things that I have a firm commitment is giving back to the community whenever possible. And sadly, I think I'm a little overcommitted, but usually when somebody asks me to join something, I usually say yes and get as involved as I can. I'm a firm believer in this community that we're blessed to be in. We always need to give back whenever possible. So if I can inspire anyone to do anything, it is get active in the community that we're surrounding with. And I'm sure that Mike would love to hear from some of the folks wanting to help out around here. So given that, I like to give back. My previous occupations, I've always been in a role where I need to wear a white hat, all right? Something bad happens, I want to be the guy to come in and try and help you out. I'm a fixer by nature, which comes with a whole nother line of downsides, but that's how I'm wired, all right? I want to fix. So in 2015, the current Bangor Township Supervisor retired. All right, so it was time for we're going to have an appointment. Somebody's going to be put in there, and I was asked to do it, and I thought about it. It's like, boy, here's an idea. I like to give back, and here I can actually make this my day job and do it all day long. So I put my hat in the ring, and I was not appointed. Somebody else was, but it lit something into me, and I said, boy, I do want to do this. So I researched the position, make sure that I'd be the right person to try and do it. So when the election came forward in 2016, I did run. Political newcomer, did not hold a political position previous to that. So, trying to start out at supervisor's a silly leap, but I did it anyways. And lo and behold, it got me to where I am now. My intention today, and we're going to talk about the history of Bangor Township, past, present, and in future. I've got some facts about Bangor Township, kind of how we started, so I'm going to give you that. But then what I wanted to do was kind of make this into more of a town hall. We're going to ask some questions back and forth. Right now, things going on politically. Boy, there's a lot going on right now, and normally whenever we attend government meetings, you get a public input session. You're allowed to talk for like 3 minutes, and people don't talk back to you, just talk. And I thought this would be refreshing, where we can just sit down and talk about whatever you want to talk about. Once again, I'm a political newcomer, so I don't have a lot of history in politics, but I would love to share with anything that I can for you. So I'm going to start out with some facts and background about Bangor Township. And I do apologize. I really wanted to practice all day yesterday putting together a fabulous presentation. Instead, I shoveled snow all day at the township. So you're going to get the boring guy reading a couple of pages, and then we're going to talk. The other thing I will give you is the asterisk, and you probably should have all signed a waiver. I'm not a very exciting speaker, so bear with me, and I get very nervous. So when I start talking very fast, it's because I'm a little bit nervous. But also, it is truly a pleasure for me to be here with all of you today. So, a little context about the location. The Charter Township of Bangor is located on the northeast Bay County in Michigan. It's situated at the head of Lake Huron-Saginaw Bay. The township borders Bay City, Essexville, and Monitor Township. To the north, the Saginaw Bay at the north. To the east, Essexville and Hampton Township. Monitor Township and Cullin is to the west, approximately 15 square miles, and of that 13 miles over the Lake Huron shoreline with Saginaw Bay and Cullin and Saginaw rivers. Due to Bangor's close proximity to Bay City, the township is consisted of an urbanized area, comprised primarily of residential uses. However, we have Euclid Avenue and Wilder Road for commercial activity in there and lots of retail. Much of our developments occurred along the waterfronts, and the southern portions of the township were adjacent to Bay City. The north central areas of the township contain a vast amount of developmental lands. Some historic content. And with this one, I hope it inspires you to go next door and look at some of the early origins of our area. The valley that surrounds the Saginaw River was originally home to many different nationalities of Native Americans. The Native American influence in the area can be seen in the name, Saginaw, meaning the land of the Sioux. And actually the Cullin River, which is one of two rivers going through Bangor Township, Cullin River actually means the land of pike. So it's a lot of historical background on that one. The Sauk were, and I'm pronouncing their name incorrectly, I'll apologize for that. The Sauk were eventually destroyed by a faction of some aligned tribes, the Chippewas, the Ottawas, Potawatomis, and a few others. The Native American tribes were settled throughout the Saginaw Valley. The tribes valued their fertile hunting areas, as well as many of the salt springs located in the Saginaw River tributaries. The French were the first Europeans to explore this area in the Saginaw Valley, but it was the English were the ones that first built their forts here. The valley went through nearly 200 years without a permanent trading post being established. After the United States gained control of this area, which would become Michigan in 1784, the first fort was built at the present site of Saginaw. This fort was in response to the many years of unrest and concerns from the local Saginaw Indians, and that caused continual uprisings. So it's widely adopted that the first European settlers in Bay County were the Trombley family. Leon Trombley came to the area in 1830s upon accepting the federal government assignment. Joseph and Mater Trombley, the nephews of Mr. Trombley, built the first frame residence in 1834. This building has also served as land purchasing office and trading post. The Trombley residence was preserved and moved to Bay City's Veterans Park, where you can actually go and visit that today, and I strongly suggest that you do so. Saginaw Valley region continued to become more attractive to new settlers. Land speculation reached a new peak in 1836 due to the encouragement of the federal government for expansion. According to the history of Bay County, land in the region was subject to sale during the spring and the summer of that year. One of the new settlers was Judge Albert Miller, who purchased land from the Trombley family in 1836. With this land, Miller attempted the first town in what is now Bay County by planting the village of Portsmouth. Finding little success with this, Miller organized the Portsmouth Company, which filled a new and larger plat of Portsmouth in 1837. He also constructed a steam sawmill, the second mill located on the Saginaw River. Located down the river, Lower Saginaw was surveyed and laid out by the lots of the Saginaw Bay Company in 1836. The company also constructed buildings to encourage settlement within the town, including a warehouse and a bank. However, the Panic of 1837, resulting from insufficient gold and silver to back paper money, which would make it worthless, limited the number of settlers entering into the area, and subsequently the number of lots sold. So come into where Bangor fits in. This is about March 22nd of 1859. That's when Bangor became Bangor. It became the third township in Bay County. Bangor was organized the same year as the townships of Aranac and Portsmouth. Bangor included the present townships of Fraser, Cullin, and Monitor. So it was a pretty big chunk of land back then. In 1868, the northern portion of Bangor was detached to form Cullin Township. In 1869, the southern portion of Bangor was detached to form Monitor Township. This consisted of the south 30 sections of Township 14 North and a range of 4 East, if you really want to look this up with that. Petitioners for this new township were John Kiesel, John Gies, Charles Nickel, Scott Siles, Frederick Kessler, and Matthew Miller of Hampton Township. The largest landholder in Bangor at the time was Joseph Trombley, so that name Trombley is still quite prevalent. The first town meeting was held on April the 7th of 1859, and the first appointed officials were a supervisor of Scott Sales. Election supervisors were Scott Sales, John Raymond, and Frederick Kessler. The township was chosen by The township name, was chosen by Thomas Whitley, who is from Bangor, Maine. He owned a mill on the east side of the river. In 1877, Bangor lost a large portion of its territory to the newly chartered community of West Bay City, which in 1905 became part of Bay City. In the 1880s, Bangor had 3 coal mines in operation. So, we're talking about townships being formed back in that area. And we say, well, why the heck do we need a township? What the heck's a township for? Back in those early days, if we look at what we hear of big government, all right, it was big government back then. So now we had a point where, boy, maybe we need to, this regionalism is only good so far, but we need some representation locally. So we created townships. And the 3 things statutorily that a township must do: it has to assess, all right, let you know what your property is worth, because you had to pay taxes even back then. So what's my property worth? You have to, so we assess, we vote. So we have to provide somewhere for people to vote. So that is the other thing that the township must do. Excuse me. I've got notes all over the place, folks. I apologize. Anyways, let me come back to that in just a minute. So now we have a fact where we need some more local representations. That's when the townships came back in here. Going to get back to some historical, then we get back to what a township is supposed to be doing. So the settlement began to increase at the end of the following decade. Settlers, whether Americans or immigrants from Europe, they began to stream into the area at a rate much higher than ever before. In 1847, one of the settlers was a Methodist minister, and he built the, bear with me on this pronunciation, Ognagawing Church, which is an Indian mission church. You can still see this today on Euclid Avenue, where it was refurbished, and I strongly recommend you do so. This was for the local Chippewas to worship, and like I said, it's currently located in Bangor Township. These residents came in many opportunities that exist in the area, including the large amount of inexpensive land and employment in the region's industry. Many of the residents have lived previously in this area of the country and traveled north after purchasing land from the purchasing office in either Detroit or Flint. Of those residents who were new to the region, many came by boat via the Erie Canal and the Great Lakes. Most of the immigrants that settled in the area came after the mid-century recession. Recorded by the Germans, Hollanders began settling in Portsmouth Township in early 1857. Government structure in the area continually changed. Originally, all the land in the region was included in the Township of Saginaw in Saginaw County. In 1843, Hampton Township was formed, encompassing land from the Saginaw region north to Mackinac. Williams Township was formed in 1855. Bay County was created from Saginaw, Midland, and Aranac counties. The latter counties included land from the Saginaw County upon its formation in 1857. This was the second attempt in separation. In 1855 was unsuccessful due to the opposition from the representatives of Saginaw and Midland counties. The one of separate county for the residents in the area was due in large part to the residents' unhappiness in having to travel as far as Saginaw for a county or court matters. Remember, back then, you didn't jump in the Buick and it was a 20-minute drive. It was a little bit more substantial back then. So shortly after the creation of Bay County, Little Saginaw was renamed Bay City. In 1859, the Township of Aranac, including all the Aranac County plus Gibson, Mount Forest, and Pinconning Townships. There was also Bangor Township, as we just mentioned. Monitor, Cucaulin, Fraser, and the western portion of Bay City were created. These townships were continually split from these original formations to the townships that exist in this area today. The growth of population in the areas was directly related to the expansion of industry, and of course in this area it was really the lumber area. The population rose from 1,600 in 1860 to 39,000 in 1884, corresponding to the lumber boom. This growth was expected to continue at similar rates. Bay City projected a population of 500,000 people by the year 2000. Boy, who'd want to guess that number? But this is kind of key. So they projected a population of 50,000 people by the year 2000 when designing and constructing its city hall. So we've often heard, why do we need a city hall so big? Well, when we built this thing and designed it, we were expecting 500,000 people to live here. So I'd say it's probably about the right size. So now we know why it is so big. So it was reasoned that a community of that size would command a city hall equal to the magnitude of the state-of-the-art architectural elegance, and as a result it can be seen as large historical significant city hall that we have today. The shipbuilding industry along the Saginaw River was another industry in that area. At its peak, there were 6 shipyards turning out schooners, freighters, and passenger ships. The salt industry started slowly due to the high expenses and low profits. The many opportunities encouraging industry lured to these expenses. The salt was easier to access in some other areas, so that industry kind of left here and went elsewhere, which leads us back into the logging. Wood products, including crates, barrels, fence pickets, hardwood flooring, and such, were in large demand at the time. Other industries in the area include coal mining, ice harvesting, commercial fishing, sugar beet refining. So we stayed true to our roots there, literally. The first attempt at sugar beet production occurred in this area. Sugar beets and other agricultural products became increasingly important in the industry in this county. Upon the creation of the county in 1857, only 25 farms were within its boundaries. However, in 1884, there were 1,402. By 1935, 3,391 farms. So if there's any members of the Michigan Farm Bureau in here, yeah. All right. Bay County agriculture continued receiving past respect and through its time period. However, Butterfield notes in Bay County past and present that the loss in farmland to residential growth was noted as early as the 1950s. Lately we've called that urban sprawl. So this is not something that is new to this area. Transportation played an important role throughout Bay County and Bangor's history. River transportation was viable in all seasons, by sleigh or foot on the ice during the winter months, or by boat during the remaining months. New trails and eventually roads were also created. Many of the first roads created in the area were plank toll roads. Oh, toll roads. Well, they'll come in a little bit. Was authorized by a General Plank Road Act passed the state legislature in 1848. Improvements continued with the use of stone. In fact, Bay City and the surrounding area became Michigan's first stone road district. By a special act of the legislature in 1883 and 1887, eventually concrete was attempted. Laid first in Cucaulin, however, the biggest project in the 1920s and probably in 1920s and probably in early Bay County history was the creation of the Veterans Memorial Parkway, or River Road. So that's actually the first concrete road in the area. Pretty neat. The construction of railways aided in our countless ways. It provided safe and reliable transportation for new and current residents for all seasons. It also altered the opportunities for distribution. Now lumber, salt, and other industrial goods could be delivered to destinations throughout the state and country without limitation that previously you can only get there via water. So that's kind of our big past in Bangor Township in the area. Some historical sites, as I mentioned, the Mission Church that was built in 1847. That was redone, and you can go and visit that today. Few other facts in Bay County or Bangor Township. Lumbering employed more workers in the United States than any other industry in the 1860s. Bangor Township, luckily we have a lot of outdoor attractions. Now I'm kind of traversing into where we are right now. Due to Bangor Township's proximity to Saginaw Bay City, we've got lots of recreational activities. Fishing, swimming, basketball, skating, sledding, tennis, hiking, right next to the Bay City State Recreation Area, or it's now the Bay City State Park, with lots of trails in there. There's also the Saginaw Bay Visitor Center. If you have not visited that, I strongly recommend you do so. That was a fabulous thing. Also, the area also includes 1,900 acres of marsh, known as the Topical Marsh. And that's home to many wetland birds and wildlife, a beach, playground, year-round campsites. The park also designated areas for picnicking, swimming, fishing, and hunting. Visitor Center offers lots of programs, so really strongly recommend you go and visit some of those. A few other facts. Some of you know me, they make the mistake of putting my picture on TV as a TV5 weather spotter. So if you've ever seen that one, I'm a little bit of a weather geek, so I'm going to throw this one in here for you. The average temperature in Bangor Township is 56.7 degrees Fahrenheit. In the winter, that average temperature is down to 24.9. In the summer, it goes up to 69.8. Average rainfall is 27.9 inches, of which 16.37 is in the form of snow. So there's your little weather geeky thing in there. A few other things as far as income. We're about average, just a little above average. The last statistical information I have, because some of this is dated material, and this is going to go back to our last census. Medium household wage was $33,000. All right, so we're right about in the middle of what we've done. As far as our population, sadly, that's kind of going down a little bit. We're at about 13,500, but we're going to be doing another census coming up soon. Some findings, some conclusions economically, where we state indicators demonstrate that Bangor Township is generally in good economic health. Residents are more prosperous than a lot of the other counties, so average to a little bit higher. Property values is increasing at a rate higher than inflation, so that's always a good thing. So that's kind of a past, where we're at now. And let's go into, bear with me. Now we have elections and they're new guys coming in. And I apologize when I said back to some of the things that a township must do. We have to assess what's the property worth. We have to vote, because everybody wants to vote. And the other one that I forgot to mention, and it's so very important, I'm sure we love to do it, we have to collect taxes. All right, so that's the other thing. Which brings me into, hey, now the election's over, there's a new guy coming into Bangor Township. And one of the problems that Bangor Township was facing, like so many other municipalities, there just wasn't much money. So I'm getting ready. My first day in office is going to be on November the 20th, 2016. So I want to job shadow the previous supervisor, just kind of get up to speed where we at. So I get to go to one of the budget meetings. And all right, going through the budget, well, we're $1.4 million over budget. I'm like, ooh, that's not good. I'm a money guy. This isn't going to work. Next day, another meeting. Get it down to 400,000. The wrong direction. So this is still going to hurt. So then we find out, all right, well, we can do this. We have to balance the budget, because by law we have to do that one. But in order to do so, we need to lay off 20% of the workforce. Included in that's going to be the code enforcement officer, one of the appraisers. So do that. So my first day on the job is like, boy, I know this is coming, and by day 3, right before Thanksgiving, I have to let folks know that, hey, I'm sorry, we can't have your job anymore. So I had to lay that off, and but try and have a happy Thanksgiving. So that was miserable. All right, terrible. I never want to have to do that again. So the challenge that Bangor Township had, much like all the other municipalities, how are we going to survive? All right, because we store away some money on the side, a rainy day fund like you have at your house. All right, because being a township supervisor is a lot like you running your household. All right, bills come in, you got to pay the bills. If the cable is getting a little bit too high, you know, maybe I need to switch to the dish, or I find another company, or maybe I have to get rid of it altogether and put up an antenna. So it's a lot like managing your own household. So I got a problem, all right? And the only way that I can solve my problem, I either need to cut how much I'm spending, or I need to generate more money, all right? So generating more money comes in a few ways, and some of them hurt, all right? It's taxes. We can raise taxes, and that's not very popular to do. So one of the things that we are blessed with is we have a full-time fire department. 12 heroes that come to work every single day, full-time staff, plus a fabulous reserve corps. But it's not a cheap date. It's about $1.5 million. So we had a millage out there, and that paid for, you know, about a quarter of that. But the millage was expiring, so we said, you know, we need to do something different, because our rainy day fund, we dipped into it so many times it's waving a flag telling the state, please come in, because we're running out of money real fast. And that's not a solution either. So we said, let's try a special assessment, because they're gaining in popularity, and we do them right now for our picking up our trash. So this was going to be, if we did this, it can fund our fire department, so we can now use some of the money from our general fund to fix roads, all right? We can do the things that we'd expect our government to do, provide nice roads, you know, parks, be able to do all the things we'd expect. So we did everything right, and to do this, it's a series of 6 meetings, and during those 6 meetings is educating people on how this process would work. Boy, we got about to step 2, and they were ready to lynch us. So we said, this is probably a poor decision. We need to stop this process right away. But one of the things that I liked about doing this special assessment, if you would, was it included the business owners in this, because how special assessment is set up is it's divided amongst every single person that has property and normally pays taxes, okay? So normally, unless you're a business owner that happens to reside in the township, you don't have a choice. You just vote, okay? Or, I'm sorry, if you live in the township, you can vote. If you just have if you own a business there and you don't live in the township, you have absolutely no control over what happens. You just write the check at least twice a year. So we thought special assessment was good because everybody is involved. Once again, that just didn't work out too well. We said we need to scrap this idea. So we're now going back to a traditional method where, you know, this August it's going to be on the millage. So the people get to decide, and that's what's going to happen. With a special assessment, once again, something that's becoming a little bit more popular in government, the way to stop the special assessment is if 10% of the people say, no, we're not interested. And I will tell you, we didn't hear from 10%, but our emails were getting full. The people got to say their piece, and we said, you know, we're just going to stop. We'll do something else. So it will be on the millage, so the voters will decide. One of the good and bad to that is it's going to be an off election year. So we're not going to be voting for a president. So voter turnout may be 10 to 12%, and I wish it was 100%. Unfortunately, it's just not that high. So here we have a service or something that will affect 100% of the people, but only about 10% make the decision. So as a society, we need to take our country back. All right, you show up to the polls and vote. I mean, you get to you have the power where you get to decide what happens. So financially, those are the things that can help us at least get about $1.5 million back into our general fund. So that's one way we could increase money coming in. The other one that we could do is we have what's called a business licensing program. And this is something that we just adopted. Every business that's operating in Bangor Township, we've asked them to become licensed. And what that will do for them is for a $50 fee, if you would, not a tax, but a fee, it will offset the cost that we will have to come inspect this property. knowing that the future of the fire department we don't have 100% control over, we need to kind of shift gears a little bit. We need to pay a lot more attention to preventing any bad thing from happening. So every single year we need to make sure all these businesses are going to be inspected and fire compliant. The other thing it does is it gives a marketing component, if you would, because we want all of our businesses to thrive. So this was going to help with a new website, and with this new website is going to have a directory for every business that's in Bangor Township. So if you're on that, you can find a business either by their name or industry. Click that right on there. If they have a website or a Twitter or a Facebook or some other direct link, it'll take you right over to their store so you can find out more about them. So the business owners are going to get a lot more than, you know, a receipt, if you would. The other thing that it's going to do with this new website, it's going to be able to make it so you can do a lot more stuff at home or on your smartphone as far as doing business with the townships. You don't have to come in and go to the counter, you know, to make a transaction or to pull a permit to do this, that, or the other. So it's going to be a lot more user-friendly. So we have business licensing. So that brought in some more money. The one that was real different, really out there, if you would, is the medical marijuana industry. And I know everybody has an opinion on this one. This is, we listened to this, and this was on our radar for quite some time. So we did a lot of homework on this industry. And the biggest thing that we have to do as public servants is we need to project what the will of the people are, all right? So when we saw this on the horizon, we asked our trustees and the elected officials, talk to your people. All right, see if this is something people are interested in or if they just don't want any part of this. I was expecting, especially in such a conservative community that we're in, oh heck no, absolutely not. I was astounded by the support that this industry gave us. So now we started doing a lot more homework on this one. And then we started to have a few of the companies that were interested in doing business with us. They came in and visited with us, so we got to know them. It was a good vetting process, because the one thing that we said going into this is, you know, there could be a lot of money generated that will help out the township tremendously financially. But boy, we got to make sure we're doing business with the right people, because we are not interested in taxpayers or fee payers. We want partners, all right? We want people that are going to embrace our community, you know, employ our people, support our children, be part of our community and events, be partners with us. We don't want a bunch of knuckleheads that are just gonna, you know, show up here and, you know, pay some money, and we're fine with that as long as we get some money coming in. So we Bangor Township became the second municipality in the state of Michigan to legalize medical marijuana in this area. So now we have businesses that are coming in. They want to open up shop. They want to have dispensaries. So what we did is we charged each and every one of them $5,000 for the application, and this is something that's non-refundable. And then it's something that is charged to them every single year. And this offsets some of the costs that we are going to have with them being here. The other thing that by doing so, it really got to beef up our inspection department, our building department, once again, freeing up some of our general funds. So by doing so, we now have almost $250,000 coming back into the township. So the general fund's a little bit healthier. So with that, we got to bring back the appraiser position. We got to bring back the code enforcement position. And when I say code enforcement, this is the big deal, because this is when you call there and say, my neighbor or this person hasn't cut their grass, you know, they need to do something about that. There's all these abandoned vehicles. And it was tough because we didn't have anybody to do that. There was me, and it fell under my jurisdiction. So in my free time, nights and weekends, I'd go and yell at people to cut your grass and get rid of these cars. And that's not a popular thing for a guy, especially when your job is to please vote for me again in 4 years. Sorry if I was a little rough on you. So that was tough. And once again, one of the things that we expect out of our government is to be able to provide the things that we want. We don't want people to have, a forest in their yard instead of cutting their grass and a bunch of abandoned vehicles. Nobody likes that, and I'll let you in a little secret. The township doesn't like it either, all right? Other thing I found, driving all over the township now, things I didn't notice before, all right? And I know that there's some sections of my baby that is ugly, but, we're working on it, so things are coming. Back to financially. So now we have, we've got an extra $250,000 in the general fund. Will help us offset the costs we will have with this industry, but freeing up some other dollars. So there's money coming in. So this is just the start. This is nothing but a fee that comes with an application. Now we've got industry, all right? When was the last time we had people really excited to come into town, all right? And I'm going to say we because City of Bay City accepted it as well. So we challenged the board to do this. We became the second municipality to approve it. On September 1st, at 8 o'clock in the morning, when it's time to unlock the doors, was a lineup of 30 people going out there, because this is when we started accepting these applications. One company actually paid a man to sit on the doorstep all night long just to reserve their spot in line. So now we got industry. We've got people that are now building their locations. I've got a location that is 383,000 square feet of just ugly that was probably going to just be turned to rubble at some point. Now there's industry going in there. They're going to spend $21 million to redo this. They're going to employ 120 people. They are going to be able to make a product, all right? And I'm going to say, let's call it medicine, because I don't want to say they're going to be growing weed. But they're going to make enough of a product that will take care of their dispensaries throughout the state of Michigan, which is kind of neat. As far as the dispensaries go, this is one where it's a double-edged sword. We had to figure out, how many of these do we allow, all right? Because we don't have a clue. We've never had this before. I mean, it's the black market and the gangsters that are taking care of this industry now. So, do some homework, and we figured, 5's probably good. Let's compare it to, how many 7-Elevens and things like that we have, or other drugstores. Well, then the people were more interested. We wanted more and more applicants coming in, and we said, we don't want to squeeze out any of our local people that wanted to do this, just because the large corporate guys came in. So we said, let's just go crazy. Let's go 15. Plus, we know that this is like any other business. 2 out of 3 are going to fail. All right, so we're going to end up probably having about 5, which is the right way. So business law will dictate how that goes. So there's a lot of growth. There's a lot of excitement in there. And of course, all the spin-off business that will come off with this. You're going to have security companies. You're going to have testing facilities. Maybe more banks and restaurants. People that get a paycheck, they need to cash their check. They need to eat at breaks. So there's a lot of excitement going on. So what we're doing financially, we're doing some good things. We got some money coming in. But I look at this industry, and everybody has their opinion on it, and that's awesome. I think it's going to be a gold rush, kind of like back when they first started that lumber area years ago. Everybody's rushing in. There'll be a lot of buzz and activity. Then the laws of supply and demand are going to kind of settle it out, and we'll end up about where it should be, and we'll have a new industry, and we'll see how long that lasts. So that is kind of a past and a present of where we're at in Bangor Township. And like I said, if any questions that you have for me about Bangor Township, about government in general, the floor is yours, folks.
Kmart property, anything happening with that?
Boy, the rumors are so fun to hear on that one, and I get as excited as you do when I hear about those. I can tell you I do not have a building permit from Costco, right. So that's the biggest one I hear. That and Costco likes brand new pretty buildings, so I don't count on that one. I do not know of any activity on that one. Another big chunk of retail, and I actually met with the owners 2 weeks ago. The former Target building is going to have a new occupant, and I'm not allowed to say their name, but based upon us in this area and what we like to do for pastimes, you're all going to be pretty happy with this one. So look for that one coming in. I'm sorry?
I thought PetSmart was going in.
PetSmart's open.
Oh,
What they did at PetSmart is they took out the former food court because there wasn't many people going there for a fine dining experience. So they turned that into PetSmart. And one of the things that we're finding with malls, they're not doing well. They're dying. They're closing. What I will say with the Bay City Town Center, because it's not the mall anymore, it's the Bay City Town Center. They're really going out of their way and reinventing themselves. We no longer have stores that open in the front and then feed right into the mall. And the reason why, you have to have an extra cash register now to go out by. So they're playing a little smart. But this is something that we should expect now. So let's have the one entrance on the front. But they're doing their homework on how to stay viable, and they're really doing well. The other one I normally hear is JCPenney's leaving and closing. We've all heard that one. They just approved they're going to redo all of the lighting in that store to LED lighting. And I don't know a lot about retail stores, but they rarely spend a bunch of money if they're going to be shutting the doors. So, boy, I danced all the way around that little question. No, I do not know anything about Kmart at this point.
Question. The two buildings at the waterworks. What's happening?
That's some excitement right there. The smaller building, which was the pump house, if you would, there is a company that works with other developers. It's comprised of a lot of Bay City people, and I'm not going to say their name because they're going to be having a website coming out in about 2 months, but they have a fabulous track record at bringing things in Bay City, and they're fabulous. One of the interesting things that we have in Bangor, there's not a lot of land left, all right? So now we have one of the challenges, same with Bay City. We now have to tear something down or rehabilitate something for something new because there's not a lot of land left to start from scratch. So this particular company, they challenged us. They said, well, this is kind of what we want to do. What do you want to do? So I said, all right, well, trustees, elected officials, talk to your people. Find out what they want to do. And that's that's a slow process. I like to use technology and work smarter instead of harder. That, and it's winter, and I hate knocking doors in the winter to talk to people on their opinions. So we use Facebook. What do you want to see? Boy, we heard water parks. We use multi-use things. We want to have brew pub in there. A lot of different fabulous ideas that we are just going to share with this development firm. Say, here's what the people would like. Let's see if we can't do something with that. And this is just for the small building that the city of Bay City owns. And then it comes down to, well, how can we really entice them? Because this developer, it's like, we're going to spend a lot of money. What's in it for us? All right, so now we have, boy, what are we going to do for these folks? Is there some brownfield money available to them? Is there going to be some favorable tax incentives for the few years? And it's like, well, since 1921, the city of Bay City's owned it, and it made water, and we haven't collected a single penny in taxes from them. So, like, all right, stay there for free. We haven't said that, but what are you going to do to encourage this? But there's going to be something new that's in there, and it's going to be exciting. And right now, there is so much interest in development right in that state park area. This goes perfectly with that. So that's for that little building. Up on the big building, there's nothing. There's nothing but a lot of interest. All right, so if there is a nice mixed use for that new building on the bottom, I bet someone's going to be really interested in buying that building on the top, and beautiful architecture in there. So, maybe we'll have a nice multi-use building that could be right next to the big pier that goes out there, that can be right next to the clean beach that's out there, which can have the big, huge building on the top be a big indoor water park. Or this is the fun part, because we're reinventing. We get to dream, and be careful what you dream for, because we've got a lot of momentum, a lot of interest in this town, and it's not just our local people that want to invest. I talked about this medical marijuana industry. We've got people coming in from all over the country that are sitting down and they want to invest. It's like, yes, all right, I want to do this business and I'm going to invest a lot of money and I'm going to pay your people a lot of money. What else you got? You know, I'm an investor. That's what I do. I invest. What do you got? And these people are here. So it's really exciting times. The future looks very bright. Any other?
With the waterworks now, I know when it first came out in the paper, they were talking 10 to 15 years down the road. I mean, is that still a...
I do not want to put a timetable on someone else's project, but I would say with the with the work that they'd have to do, it may be 5 years, maybe. If all the pieces fall into place, it could be much faster than that.
I'm just interested where it's going to go, because I recently relocated right there. And it's residential, quiet. So, however that all plays out, I'm right there.
Are you east or west of it?
I am east.
All right, so we're in the same neighborhood. So yes, I'm keeping an eye on that myself.
Yeah, so I was kind of like, okay. But you gotta wait and see what happens. Like I said, in my mind, I was like, it could be 10 years down the road. Or
there's excitement going on there, and I mentioned the pier and cleaning up the beach. A lot of activity going on at the state park area, and one of the big things that recently we've talked about the expanding the hunting lands in the Tobico Marsh. Bangor Township put a proclamation where we opposed any expansion of hunting in that area. So we said, here, we're passing a law that we oppose it. All right, send that to Lansing. I went to Lansing. Please don't do this to us. And we did it. And I don't know why they did it, but they did it. What I can tell you is there's always been hunting in there. I didn't even know that because I've never seen anybody hunting in there. And the area that they've expanded was really for the waterfowl, all right, so the duck hunting. And there was duck hunting just north on the bay anyways, so they were already there. But as far as in the marsh area, this is an area of the marsh where unless you come in like a paratrooper from a helicopter, it's really hard to get there, all right, because there's nowhere to park. It's about a 3.5 mile hike by foot. If you do come by boat, there is a series of about 1.5 miles of drain or ditch that you could go through to get there. So I don't expect to see a lot of activity there, and I don't think it's going to change people's ability or affect people's ability to go out there and have recreation. And if you're a fan of the area, right now is prime cross-country skiing season. They actually have a groomer that goes through there. So if you cross-country ski, check it out, or it's also a great place for a walk right in our own backyard. Any other questions? This is good. This is fun. Yes, sir.
Getting back on water.
Yep.
1921, City of Bay City built the water treatment plant, transmission mains going into the city, which people along Euclid and State Park Drive tapped into.
Yep.
Hot water, people build homes where there's public water.
Yep.
They ran lines across the bay, along the beaches. Killarney Beach developed, Donahue Beach, up to Treasure Island or Sunset Marina.
Yep.
The rest of the people in the township were screaming for water. They were on wells, and the wells were not good. 1958, Bangor Township, at his expense, bonded itself and put water mains on the edges of most of the roads in Bangor Township. That changed the focus of the township as a farming area to a home residential area. And the population just exploded. Later on, they developed the sewer system, and again, it provided needed utilities for people. That's one reason that has sustained Bangor's growth through the years. And now we're into a point of change with the economy downturn, with the marijuana industry upturn, and anything else in the soup.
One of the things that's interesting, and thank you for that, and you know, we just got done. We're in fact end of December. We finished our asset management program for our water system, because we've got miles and miles of pipe going all over, including the 36-inch water main going through State Park Drive. Picture 3-foot tall pipe where all the water goes through there. That's more than 100 years old, all right? And as we're looking at repaving State Park Drive in a new process, like, boy, do I really want to put big heavy trucks and equipment on this? What if this thing breaks? You can only imagine what 3 feet of running water all over will do. But yes, piping all over the place. So we just finished an asset management program, because building is great, but you got to maintain it. And there was so many sections of the township, we don't even know when it was put in. And depending on when it was put in, boy, what type of a pipe is that? And so now as we look at, all right, we need to have a plan going forward. So the pipe along Little Clarny, that was 1960s, I believe, so we weren't quite using PVC pipe back at that time, but we know what materials were used in that area. And we also know about how long that they last. So if we use like a PVC, we know that that's good for 60 or 70 years.
Part of the easement process of getting people to sign up for this and put in their service.
There we go. So now what's on the horizon is we know that we've got about a 15 to 20 year window where we need to start replacing all the cast iron, because that's going to start going bad. So now we have to start sticking money away in our rainy day fund to replace all the cast iron. And then we have, after that, all the different types of building materials. So we can start replacing these things, much like our roads. We built a lot of roads, and everybody has almost everybody has pavement of some sort in front of their house. We built too many roads. You know, the price of oil was cheap, so asphalt was cheap. We paved everything. We don't have any money to fix it, all right? So sadly, things that have pavement now, they may go back to gravel, all right? You're gonna see a lot of chip and seal, all right? We, as a society, we have a champagne taste and a beer budget. And the real hard thing to do is knowing I've got so much money coming in, all right? And now I have to figure out, where is this going to go? All right, I got to put so much money for roads, because we drive on these things and it makes my phone ring all the day. My road's terrible. Like, I have enough money where I can fix the potholes. All right, and every once in a while we can do some new road, and maybe if there's some grant money we can gobble up that, or maybe I can do something with the county, so we can do the primary roads. One of the things that you're finding is, and Bangor, this is not something unique to Bangor. We're all hurting for money, so we're finding new ways to do it better and less expensive, but we're also finding ways to work together. Back to that asset management plan, I've got a section of pipe off Henry, all right? I'm sorry, Winona. And that is where 8 of my 13 lead service lines are. And I want to get rid of those, because we all know that we don't want any lead service lines, so we got a plan, we're getting rid of these. But with this project, that's right next to a water main that the city of Bay City has that's more than 100 years old. Well, we know about 100-year-old pipes. Well, we're on borrowed time, let's fix these. We have just entered into agreement with the city of Bay City where we are going to do this project together, all right? And we're going to split the cost, 50-50. And it's really nice, because I mean, I'd already have to send a crew out there from a contractor, and I have to spend pay for an engineer to do all this. Well, the city would have to do the same thing. Well, if we're in the same hole, let's split the cost. This is really, really cool, all right? So now I'm expecting to see more and more of this with the different municipalities. Let's work together, let's share the cost, because it's smart. We all have a shrinking budget, so we need to learn to work better together. You know, it's we're If we're both going to the same place, well, why are we going to drive separate? Let's split the cost. We'll both take a cab. We're working together. So, you know, despite how sometimes we watch the news and we shake our head and, my God, why did I elect this guy? Or what are these officials doing? We're trying. We really are, but we're people too. Any other questions?
Yes.
I'm going to go ladies first in the back, please.
How does that compare to what's going on with Flint, with their fight?
I don't have a lot of knowledge of what happened in Flint, but I think what happened in Flint was a series of poor decisions, and it's to try and lay blame on one individual. I don't think it's fair, but I know that one of the things that could have contributed to Flint, we don't have any money. All right, we need to do this, or how can we cut back on that? Well, if I can save, you know, $100 million from using this as my water source instead of that, hey, let's save a buck.
The materials that the pipes are made from.
Okay.
That's the.
I think I can possibly answer that.
You're a lot more informed on it than I am, so.
I worked 20 years in the water industry in Bay County. In the last 25 years, Bay County Water Department, working in behalf of Bangor Township, has replaced many small 2-inch water lines, and in the process of doing it, eliminated most, not all, of the lead services. Winona Street is the prime example, but a lot, say up on Lagoon Beach, they literally tore up chunks of the road to replace the piping from the main, which was cast iron, to the curb box, to the homeowner's connection point. Beyond the homeowner's connection point, it may be lead, it may be galvanized, it may be copper. But that is the homeowner's responsibility.
Interesting, because there's talk right now where some movement in the state where sounds like they may be wanting to change that, where the municipality will have to replace any lead service line going up to the house, which is kind of tough in a few things. One, it's the homeowner's property. Who am I to come in and rip this out? Plus the other thing, boy, is that going to be expensive. Who's going to pay for that? So that is just something that may happen. So
as they put new water lines in to replace small water lines that ran across people's backyard, put it in the front where it's supposed to be.
Yep.
Those homes, which are primarily west of Euclid, were required to put in new up-to-code copper services. So they literally engineered most of the lead service line from the house to the connection away.
The other neat thing with our water, and we now have a transmission system. And we say system, we're thinking moving parts. The transmission system is the ownership group that owns the water distribution, the brand new plant out there on Euclid Avenue. So now instead of the people getting the water from City of Bay City, City of Bay City's partners with all the surrounding townships. Brand new plant, and we are producing the cleanest water in the state of Michigan. So be very proud of the system that you own, and producing fabulous water. And we look at Flint, that's a big deal, folks. That really is. So be pretty proud of that one. Anything else? Please. I'm sorry, I meant to come back.
You talked about you cooperating with Bay City on the street. What is Bangor Township doing to advocate for us that don't want the tolls on the bridges?
One of the things with that, in the City of Bay City owns those bridges. So for me to have any opinion on that is really just from me. Not on behalf of Bangor Township, but it would be mine. Because Bangor wasn't we weren't asked to be part of this. With the committees put together, the township has representation through the county. There's a few ways to look at this, all right, and some of them are popular, some of them are not. I sit on the Roads Committee for the Bay County Road Commission, and one of the statements I made was, our roads are falling apart. If we don't do something about it soon, they're going to continue to fall apart. The only townships that are doing anything with roads are townships that have a road millage. And they're doing what they're supposed to. People are spending extra money for the sake of building roads. And some communities can do that, all right? I'm in a unique position where I'm the largest township in all of Bay County, and I've got the smallest tax base. So if you want to pay the least amount of taxes, come on in. I got lots of room. It's a great place to live. But as far as being able to do things, it's a little bit tough, all right? So now we look at, what do we do? If we want to fix these roads, you know, probably a millage would be the way to go, all right? And with this, I don't like a road millage that goes any more than 30 years, because much like buying a car or a house, the longer the term is, the cheaper that payment is. But boy, do I want to spread something out for 30 years that may have a shelf life of 20 years? You know, do I want to pay for something 30 and it's only going to last half of that? So maybe a county-wide may be the way to go, all right? But then as we start looking around in infrastructure, I'm doing my asset management plan, well, my roads aren't the only thing that are falling apart. So is my sewer lines, so is my drain systems. You know, so maybe we need to look at an infrastructure millage, and be this at a township level, a city level, or a county level. So we need to look at more than just roads, just bridges. We got infrastructure that's falling apart. I'm dancing around your question, I don't mean to. As far as tolls for a bridge, there's a few ways to look at that. We can tax everybody, all right? So everybody puts in their fair share, all right? So I guess that could be fair. We can also look at a toll, all right, where well, only the people that use it are affected, and they pay for it. And then we say, boy, I don't like that much, but we look at some good examples of it. All right, the Mackinac Bridge is 60 years old and in pristine condition. How does it stay that way? Every time we go across it, we put a little money out. So it's one of those toughies, you know, and sadly, the truth hurts. We want a lot of nice things, but who wants to pay for them? I don't like it when my taxes go up either. All right, we were talking about the special assessment for the fire department in Bangor Township. I love my fire department. They are heroes. They do incredible things. They carried my father out of the house and took him to the hospital 2 weeks ago. I admire what they do. I pay more to pick up garbage than I do to support my fire department. Just how it is. In the back, please.
Simple question. You're gonna love it. What is the size of the Bangor police department?
I don't have a police department.
You have a sheriff.
I contract with the Bay County Sheriff Department, and those guys are also heroes. They do a fabulous job. In 1979, Bangor went from a township to a charter township. So to become a charter township makes you very similar to a city. In order to do so, you got to have a population of at least 5,000 people. So in '79, we became a charter township. So that's when we had to, and with the charter, you have to supply a police presence. And with ours, we just contract with the Bay County Sheriff Department, who does an amazing job. You're right, that was one of the easier ones. Thank you.
I asked that because of the dispensaries that you're going to have.
That's one of the things that concerned me a lot. But I also looked at it this way. Right now, the black market, the gangs, and some of the shady folks control this industry. With it being legal, now there's regulation on there. There's a product, if anybody has a prescription to get it, or maybe if it becomes recreational, it's legal where anybody can get it. Now we're dealing with a product that is put together by a professional, all right? It has been taken to a plant to be processed. It's inspected by the state of Michigan. So we know that it has to have a certain standard. It has to be safe for final consumption. Whereas what we have now, goodness only knows what's in there. So I like the safety of it. I also know with these, the places that you have to go to fill your prescription, or if it's legal to buy the stuff, you know, security camera in every corner of every room. You have to have a card to be able to come in. Security like Fort Knox, all right? The concern I have, nobody's going to break into these facilities because, like I said, it's like a bank or Fort Knox. It's a cash business. People are arriving, you know, with cash, and then leaving with a product. And I know that, you know, with the laws that the state have, you have to lock it up and keep it in your trunk or methods like that. But it's still, that's what concerns me. Also, with that, the state of Michigan they collect a large fee for every application that comes in, and the provisioning centers will be paying a special tax. I believe it's 3% of all of their profits. And my number could be wrong, but I think it's like $220 million after the first year. So they're going to peel off 3% of that. A quarter of that money goes back to the municipalities to help them out. But it's also going to pay for a lot of extra police presence, and I believe it's 10 additional officers just in our area, with a heavy concentration of narcotics and drug task force. The Pinconning Township was the first municipality to approve medical marijuana, and once again, the fees that we collect, you spend them accordingly. And one of the things that they did, they actually purchased a drug sniffing dog. So lots of things to keep it as safe as humanly possible. Yes, I do lose some sleep over that one. Yes?
How much does it cost to train your drug sniffing dogs and your specialized dogs to learn how to take care of these things?
I really don't have that answer. One of the things that I do have is, once again, just contracting out all police service with the sheriff department. So I think Sheriff Cunningham could probably answer that a heck of a lot better than I, because I don't have a clue. Anyone else?
I would just like to make a comment.
Please.
I would rather see this be turned into tax dollars for our roads or whatever we need, rather than criminals' well-being. I would feel much safer if it would be regulated and the right people would be prosecuted.
I agree. And when I said some of the money coming back to the municipality, that gets to go into the general fund. That doesn't have to be set aside for inspection or law enforcement or having the police go out and... That's money that comes back into the township coffers. That lets us build roads again. That lets us get rid of the other 5 lead service lines and do all the things that we really need to do, the things that we'd expect our government to do. One of the sayings that I've adopted, because my frustration is there too. There's a lot of things I want to fix, I just can't. Sadly, in many cases, we don't have the government we deserve. In a lot of cases, we get the government we can afford, you know, and it's a struggle sometimes. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
About this 75 to 15 connector, how the bridges have to operate for all the cargo that goes to Saginaw, right? Yep. Or sailboats and so on. Has anybody thought of using docks east of the Independence Bridge, offloading there and shipping by rail the rest of the way? In other words, it's mostly gravel, isn't it, that is shipped to Saginaw? Is that the car?
There's a lot of things that go back and forth on that, and one of the things that we're blessed with is a very large dock, you know, shipping right where we're at. So I would love to see more and more ships coming in. To answer your question specifically, I'm not really sure on that one. I like it in theory, but also with the bridges, they work. I mean, they're expensive, but they do work. With the replacement of Trumbull, the bridge coming into Trumbull, which is Independence, yeah, that's a big deal for me, because that comes right into the backyard. You can ask the folks at the Bay City Town Center how you know, how curious are they as to what's going to happen, or all the businesses along Wilder. That's a really big deal. I would love the state to come in and make that part of you know, M15 and take care of it. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I know we need to see something there. All right, I don't have the answer of what it's going to be, just opinions, but I am very confident that the city is going to do its due diligence, and it's going to make a good decision. It's going to make an educated decision. What I'm also excited about is the county is now involved, and our state representation has come together. So I talked about how jointly City of Bay City and Bangor's come together to work on a project. Well, now we've got all areas coming in to work on this one. So I really hope that they do you know, what's right, what's best for the people, and the very best idea that's out there. And it may be a toll. I don't know. We'll see.
Wouldn't tolls hurt tourism?
Does it hurt the Upper Peninsula when they cross?
Well, they aren't going back and forth 3 times a day, though.
This is true. And I don't know if it would negatively affect tourism. And
for the 4th of July, when we bring in people from all over the state, all over townships, all over the
I would suggest a focus group, maybe with the Great Lakes Tours and Convention Bureau. If you pay $5 to park, would you spend $1 to cross a bridge? Things I don't know, but I know that there's people a lot smarter than me to answer that question.
But it's okay.
I wonder how it'll attract or change the traffic flow.
Yeah.
Don't know, and
Is there going to be a bottleneck?
Yeah, exactly. And how much time is it going to take to get to the other side of town?
selfishly, I will say I'm really glad I don't have to make that decision. Mike, did I kill your time limit? No, thank you all.